everybody, this is Cheyenne with Soft Crochet Times, and today we're going to go over a few different ways to make pom-poms. Everyone's favorite hat topper. They really are cute. They add little details. You can put them at the bottom of scarves. I'm sure pretty much everyone knows the use of a pom-pom, but how do you make one? That's the question that we're looking to answer today. So the three ways that I'm going to show you is I'm going to show you with a pom-pom maker. This one is by Clover. It's one of their smaller sizes. I really like this one. And then we're going to do the cardboard method, and then we're also going to do just your hand. So with that being said, let's get started. So method number one is going to be with the pom-pom maker. So in case you've never seen how one of these works, you can open it up like this. You can move the little semicircles independently, and you can also pull it apart this way. So how you use one of these is you open it up just like this, keeping each half circle with their respective partner. And then you're going to take the yarn and you're going to just hold it at the top, and you're just going to wind it around just like this, all the way over the half circle. And the more yarn you put, the fuller your pom-pom's going to be. But be careful not to put too much, because then it's really hard to cut through. Oh. And if you get it stuck on the bottom here, which can be the problem with these, just loop it back over and pull it kind of tight. That way you don't have a really large strand in there. Alright, I'll say that's pretty good. You can't really see any of the plastic anymore. So I'm just going to pull it up to the top. And then I'm just going to snip it. And then to hold it in place, you just close that side. And then we're going to go ahead and wrap the other side. And just keep winding all the way around, just like we did on the other side, till we pretty much just don't see any plastic left. Winding, winding, winding. And now what we do is, if you can see, this is where the front of one of the semicircles and the back of the other one. So we're going to take our scissors, and we're just going to cut in between. You can see there's a groove left here for your scissors. Go ahead and cut. Make sure you're holding down the sides of this so the semicircle doesn't open up, or else all the little pieces of yarn are just going to go everywhere. Right? So there's one side cut. And we're just flipping it over and snip. The thicker you get it, the harder it is to cut with your scissors. So if you want like a really thick full pom-pom, I recommend getting little sharp scissors, like some thread scissors, or maybe even some medical scissors, the little ones that have the tiny blades but they're really long. Those might help. Alright, so now we're going to take some yarn. I like to have about, I don't know, roughly 18 inches. It might seem kind of long if you're going to attach anything, but you'd rather have too much than too little. So this is the groove we were using to cut with our scissors. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the yarn around like that. We're going to pull it. And as we pull it, it pulls it into those little grooves. And then we're going to pull it nice and tight. And then I'm not going to knot it. I'm just going to go like that, a little pull knot. So I can pull it nice and tight. And then I like to flip it over and do that once again over here. Make sure you pull it real tight. Alright. So now we go ahead and we open up just like that. And then like this. And then we pull the two halves apart. Right, fluff it up a little bit. And here's the pom-pom we have so far. They tend to come out looking a little bit choppy. So then you can just take your scissors, just kind of round it out. Just be careful not to cut off too much. That's usually the problem that I have. Is that I see one little strand sticking up somewhere. I just need to cut it. Alright, you can shape it a little bit with your fingers. And there's our first little pom-pom. Alright, so on to the cardboard method. This one's a very similar idea. So we're just going to take the yarn, put the little tail on the back and hold it. And then we're just going to wrap the yarn around the cardboard like 100+ times. Not even joking. Just wind it all up. And the wider your cardboard, the taller each string is going to be on your pom-pom. So that means the more you want to wind it, or else it's going to be just a very loose looking scraggly pom-pom. So I'm just going to keep winding this until I think it looks pretty good. Usually you want 100, 200, quite a few winds to make sure that it's really a nice thick, even pom-pom. So I think that looks pretty good. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that down. And then you can take either a crochet hook, a darning needle, whatever you want to pull the yarn through. I have a small crochet hook here, that's probably what I'm going to use. So I'm just going to slide it the best I can underneath, or I'm just going to fail horribly, that works too. So I'm going to take this, push it through, wind my yarn that's still attached to the skein around it, and then pull it through, just like that. Lovely. Now I'm going to cut off about, this one takes a little bit less yarn to wind around, so I'm probably going to do about 12 inches. And then you want to do that and really pull it tight, just tight enough not to break the yarn. And then set a knot. Make sure it's as tight as you can possibly get it. And then usually I like to do it again, because it never hurts to have too many knots on the bottom of a pom-pom, because those little tiny threads will come out, and it will suck, and everyone will be sad. Alright, there we go. And again, take the yarn, make a little knot, pull it really tight. Alright, and tie another knot, and that should be alright for right now. So you can see where we tied it. Now we're going to go on this side, and we're just going to cut right down the middle. It can help quite a bit if you just bend your cardboard a little bit, that way you have room to get your scissors in there. Right? So usually these kind of pom-poms look a little odd when they're laying flat, because they're quite, flat. But when you put it on a hat or something like that, the bottom tends to get really bunched together. So when that happens, it looks more like this. Big, shaggy, fluffy pom-pom. And then of course, if you want a little bit of a tighter pom-pom, what you can always do is I grab it from the base just like this, kind of pull it through a loop in my fingers. That way all the yarn's right up and close. And then you kind of just cut it where it's a little bit shorter on the sides. Alright, trim, trim, trim. Alright, so a little bit shorter on the sides, trying to make it as even as possible. And then you just kind of round off the top. Make sure you're looking from every angle, trying to get it nice and even. I am not the best pom-pom trimmer in the world. I tend to get a little bit impatient, but it really does help it look better. I'm here to teach you guys what you should do, not what I always do. Alright. So there's one big fluffy pom-pom. And if you want it tighter and tighter, you can just keep trimming it up. As it gets smaller, it will thicken up a little bit, and I'm going to show you that with a little time lapse. Alright, so I went and trimmed it up, and now you can see how it's much thicker, a little less scraggly. and it's pretty full and pretty even. This is a pretty easy way to make a pom-pom if you don't have a pom-pom maker. I do highly suggest buying a pom-pom maker. They really don't cost that much, that maybe about $5. And say you're gonna make a whole bunch of hats for Christmas or something like that, it really is gonna be a lifesaver. I think they make life so much easier. So give me a minute to get rid of all these little yarn sprinkles, and I'll come back to show you the third method. Alright, so the third method can be used if you really need to make a pom-pom in a pinch. You just finished a hat, need something extra. So pretty much what you can do, same idea as before, put the tail in, and then just wrap it around your hand a whole bunch. Once again, please make sure you do not cut off circulation. That would be a terrible idea. And even though I love crocheting, I love hats, I love pom-poms, they are not worth losing your hand over. So make sure you're not wrapping it too tight. Just keep going. Keep going. And I'm going to go ahead and fast forward while I'm winding. You just want to keep on winding until it's nice and thick. Alright, so I'm terrible. I didn't follow my own advice. You can see my little fingers starting to turn red. However, now we go ahead and loop the tying yarn through. This one's a little bit easier. Usually you can just do this with your finger because your hand's a little bit more squishy than the cardboard. Alright, pull off your yarn. Cut it. This can be a little tough to do because now you have one hand pretty much trying to tie this knot. However, if you pull it and hold it with these two fingers, you can get a pretty good grip on it in order to tighten it. And like I said, the more knots, the better. So, I tightened it, got my yarn around, now I'm tying a little knot. Now that you have that, if you're able to slip it off your hand, which I'm trying to do, you can. Make sure you try to keep this hole open though, where your hand was, by putting maybe two fingers in there, anything like that. Alright, and I'm going to continue to wrap our yarn through. Alright, so for this one, like I said, you want to keep the donut open as much as possible. Make sure your connecting strings are down below. And then you take your scissors and you just snip right through. So this one, as you can see, pretty much has the same effect as the cardboard one. You get a really limp little thing. But as you pull it up, fluff it up a little bit, and if you were to put it on a hat, it'd still be pretty furry. Let's see what it looks like when I trim it down quite a bit. So I'm probably going to cut it almost in half. So the last two methods really do make a looser, fuzzier, floppy pom-pom, while the first method makes a rounder, firmer pom-pom. So pretty much depending on the look you're going for, those are three different methods on how you can make a pom-pom. And with that being said, I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video. Thank you for liking, comment, sharing, subscribing, all that good stuff. If you enjoy watching these videos, you enjoy learning things about fiber crafts and yarn hobbies like crocheting, I really appreciate you taking the time to watch these videos. And if you guys follow along or make any products using these techniques, I would really love to see a picture of them. I do have a Facebook page, I have an Instagram, and I really just love hearing from you guys, seeing your projects, hearing your questions, recommendations, all these other things. But with that being said, I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and just keep on stitching. Bye-bye.